Metal sheets are cut and go flying. A future work of art is born under this press. The first machine cuts the metal dish of the right form, while the second one bends the corners. 0.5 millimeter thin sheets of steel are used to make these metal trays. After that, the trays are covered with black enamel. This used to be done with a hand brush. Nowadays, they use a sprinkler. It doesn't matter what color the final product will be, the foundation is always black. They let me try it too. I hope I don't turn the same color in the process. Nothing to fear though, as it all went well. After being covered with enamel, the trays are sent to dry inside a furnace. This is the furnace where we dry the trays at a temperature of more than 110 degrees during the course of 1.5 hours. Then we pull them out, cool them down, cover them and pass them further down the production line. That is when the fine work begins. Several masters turn these dishes into real works of art. The artists mark the tray and start painting the first layer. They brush the colors and shapes of flowers to create the composition. Right now it's springtime, so we need more spring colors. So I put a rose here and some zinc foil next to it. No two trays are the same. Making them the same is not interesting anyway, so we try to make them all different. Every single one is unique. The fashion of Zhostovo art is not constant either. Zoya Moiseyeva has been working at this factory for almost half a century, and she says the seemingly traditional handicraft has changed several times. The trays have become more beautiful, elegant, and varied. This used to be a mass production line. Nowadays, every single tray gets an individual approach. We try to make them all different. Tatiana Kurakina could easily be called a member of the Zhostovo dynasty. Her mother was a black enamel painter, her father a blacksmith, her aunt and sister were painters too. Her journey to this handicraft was predetermined. We used to come here for tours back when I was in kindergarten and then at school. It was a different place. This was an old building. It was a big workshop with more than 200 painters. It was very interesting to see how every one of them had their own style. The masters say that the love and art of the Zhostovo paintings is passed down through generations. The trays are painted with a wide brush in several stages. The second stage is all about the fine details. The painters bring flowers to life on the trays. The buds begin to glisten in the sun with rich colors, while the leaves cast a shadow on the bouquet on the black background. Such trays are considered traditional, but the painters can make them into any color, even white. The black enamel is covered with colored paint, then dried and painted over, although painting on white is a lot more difficult. A white background requires a more clean job. We also need to pick the colors for the background. While painting on black, you can make them blend into the shadows. Here, on the contrary, you need to blend the colors into white. One such tray takes about 2 days to paint. Every layer of oil paint is dried in the furnace. A single metallic plate can be tempered up to 10 times. When the painting's ready, the tray is handed over to the ornament painters. They paint their patterns along the edges. At first, we paint these small hooks like intertwined snakes. It all starts with simple patterns and edges. Everything needs to underline the form of the tray. Of course, the ornament needs to match the main painting too. The painter makes up their own pattern and then paints it with very small sweeps. These masters paint with special paste instead of paint. It is a mix of bronze and turpentine. The result is an elegant golden color. It looks especially good in a black background, although the original black color was chosen because it was cheap. The serfs used grime instead of black enamel, but the wealthy nobles took a liking to the color. They decorated their houses with such painted trays. The history of these trays goes back to its roots in the Urals, where the metal factories of the Demidovs were located. That was Nevyansk, Nizhny Tagil. The handicraft came to the Moscow region much later, in the middle of the 19th century. But it was here that a new tradition of painting was born. Legend says the merchant Philip Vishnikov, who owned several papier-mâché workshops, saw the painted trays from the Urals at a market. The entrepreneur valued their durability and utility, and so the trays began to be produced in the Moscow region. As you can see, these are not only flower bouquets. There are also landscapes and still life on the trays. It actually all began with paintings depicted on jewelry boxes. The flowers came a bit later, because the rest of the crockery was covered in them, so the trays had to fit in. The oldest tray is considered to be this small orange one. It is about 150 years old. It was produced at the Vishnikov workshop and was covered with varnish. We can see a modest but very exquisite bouquet.
Выполнен был в мастерской Вишняковых. Он металлический, также покрытый лаком. Видим такой вот скромный, но очень изысканный букет.
It still hasn't withered because it's covered with varnish. This is the final stage of the Zhostovo tray production. They're covered in this small pavilion that resembles a greenhouse. There's also a special microclimate here, all because of the special material on the walls.
Это называется фильтры.
These are called filters. They're needed to make the product perfectly clean. Any small bits and pieces are pulled into this vent. When the doors are closed, the tray is like it's inside a jewelry box and nothing gets on it.
Закрывается, получается мы как шкатулочки, и ссор не попадает.
In the age of nanotechnology, these painted trays cannot be copied. Perhaps that is why these works of art by Moscow region painters are so valued across the world. They're kept in the collections of Queen Elizabeth II, former Spanish King Juan Carlos I, and Hollywood star Sir Anthony Hopkins. Anastasia Shkitina, Alexander Mamedov, TV BRICS.